Okay, guys, back looking at part four of section one of the major design project portfolio. And this is your action time and finance plans and their applications. So I switched it around a bit there, sorry. The must haves in here, again, I've said it before, but an opening statement that explains why this is important is going to help the teacher to understand that you know why you're doing this. You can always delete it later if you're really running out of space, but it doesn't hurt. You might not get extra marks for it, but it helps to establish your knowledge of the area. So you need a detailed action plan outlining each task. You need to have that linked to some sort of time frame. Uh, a finance plan is important, and all of these probably should indicate that, like the proposed, the actual times. We're talking about the finance plan, the costs, and as usual, an evaluation. So, this is where people go wrong. You can't get in the top mark range. You can't get this unless you have all three. So, you need to have a time, action, and finance plan. And the time and action plan are tied together, which we'll have a look at in a minute, and the finance plan is usually separate. So there's a few different ways to set that up. For top marks, I know I say band six here, but I'm just to get you to aim towards something high. Formulate and evaluate well documented action, time, and finance plans with clear evidence of their application to the major design project. So there's no point making these up and they don't fit what you did, essentially. So um, your action and time and action plan needs to be along the lines of what you did. It probably shouldn't just be the folio headings. I'll talk about that in a minute. Your finance plan should be the actual finances that you needed to produce your project. And, you know, half the stuff you might have got from free from school or whatever, but it's still a good point to put in a estimated cost of what it might cost if you were not a school student. So I won't go over this too much as usual. I'll just leave this here so you can pause it and have a bit of a look at it. But I will say, at a minimum, like a Gantt chart. This is a fairly well developed Gantt chart. You can see just there. I'll zoom in for you. So the statement of intent, the first section. This is what I'm going to do in there. Like slightly different. Please don't take this as the Bible. In fact, I don't even know where I grabbed it from, but it's just an example of what a Gantt chart might look like. Create a detailed finance plan. Here's a bit of a scaffold for a finance plan. But let's have a quick look at what one might look like. Again, the folding skateboard example. I really like to see it like this, to be honest. The Gantt chart's great, and you can do a Gantt chart. Like, it's definitely a time management tool. Some students would do something like this and also include a Gantt chart. It's a quick visual reference to, you know, where you're up to, and it can certainly help. Something that you might stick on your wall at home so you've got your Gantt chart and you remember. But again, just one way to do it. So here I've got my weeks, or sorry, the student's got his week set down. Here's his actions. Here's an explanation of what the action might be. And here's an evaluation of what happened, how long it took, and so on. So to see this set up and well set up, not just saying, oh, section one, identification of needs, section two, areas of investigation, section three, criteria of success, to see it set up in what you actually did week one, week two, week three of term one, and so on, is it's pretty important. It shows detail. It can also help you relate exactly to what you're doing. To be honest, it's pretty hard to set this up at the start and say, this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 3.5 terms. So sometimes you're kind of doing it and then you're coming back, but you're making sure it's updated and you're trying to think 3 or 4 steps ahead of where you might be. But definitely having an outline in here. So sorry, in the action, it's great to have your action already outlined, but you're probably not going to have the explanation of the planned action and maybe the evaluation until you've actually done it. So this, I would imagine, would usually run over about 4 to 5 pages. It could be less. Some people try and do it in one sort of A3 page if that's your layout, or a couple of A4 pages. But it does really, really help you, and it helps you tick the top box. An evaluation, again, why it helped you, how it helped you, what went right, what went wrong. That's going to help you to hit those keywords. We'll just go back and have a bit of a look. So we're trying to formulate. So I've made a, essentially the students made a table. So they're formulating it. They're definitely evaluating it because we've got the evaluation section in there. Action, time, and finance. Yeah, sure. Let's just have a look at the finance plan for this particular project. Let's lift it up again. He's talked a bit about the finance plan, why it was important, what sort of purchases, what was needed, what wasn't. And then he's given the items required, the estimated cost, the actual cost, which may be different, and evaluation. It's always easy to evaluate the difference between the estimated and actual and why that happened, and included every single thing that he needed to do that. And like I said earlier, a lot of this stuff might come from school, so it's something that you might get. This student has also put in the retail price of various things, talking about if he was going to sell the product, what it might cost to sell it at the end. I mean, he's really thinking about the finances. This is what it's going to cost to make it. This is what I want to have to sell it for. What if I could make multiples of it? Would it then become cheaper? Is it going to be a success in the market, essentially? And I totally understand it's just a HSC project. I shouldn't say just a HSC project. It's a major design project for HSC. But if you're a designer, you actually need to really think about what's this thing going to cost me to make and what am I going to retail it for if I am able to take it to market. Not everyone would do this. I don't know if it gets you any extra marks or anything, but he's shown, he visited the local steel shop, he visited the local Bunnings, and he bought various things. It's, to be honest, it's probably not needed. Could be a bit of a waste of a page if you're running out, but, you can do a good folio in 60 pages. So if you've got 20 spare pages, it's not hurting to show exactly where that came from. All right, guys, time, action, finance plan, really important. Watch the introductory video if you haven't already done so, because hopefully that helps to explain the project a little bit more. Thanks.